Holy crap, guys. So Universal Studios Japan just released a video or a trailer of Super Nintendo World. I did not see this coming. In which we see Mario running around a 3D version of the concept art that they released a few months ago. And it is looking pretty great. So I'm going to play the video for you in full here. You can see it right now, in fact, and we're almost done. It's not very long. So here's Mario climbing the mountain up to the flagpole, and good job, Mario. You beat Super Nintendo World. Congrats, buddy. So yeah, let's go and pause it right there, or let's go ahead and go back to that real quick. So this actually offers an awesome view of the full land. It's actually offering an angle almost exactly opposite what we had in the concept art. So we can see this time we have Bowser's Castle on the right, Princess Peach's Castle on the left, and, you know, everything in between. So yeah, this gives us a better idea of what to expect from this land. Now, a lot of people are wondering how accurate the original concept art is going to be to the final product. And of course, it's still impossible to say, but given the fact that they built a full 3D version of it, a full 3D model, I have a feeling that what we're seeing here is going to be pretty accurate to what we get. As I mentioned before in our previous analysis of the concept art, theme park concept art typically represents the final product pretty accurately. There are some changes, you know, oftentimes, but it's usually a pretty good idea of what to expect. And I think that's going to be the case here too. Now keep in mind, this is the Japanese trailer. This probably represents only exactly what it'll look like in Japan, and it may look slightly different in Orlando and Hollywood. Again, assuming this represents the final product. Alright, so that is it overall. I'll give my final thoughts later on, but let's go ahead and start going through the trailer from the start, and I'm going to start pointing out some smaller details you might have missed. And let's start at the very beginning, of course, where we see Mario enter the land through a warp pipe. Now, not only do I think is this the opening to the trailer, I think this will probably be the proper entrance to Super Nintendo World itself. It's got a sign there already, it's got the warp pipe, what more do you need? And this is kind of a cool way of doing this, because one, the warp pipe is a great way to act as that bridge, that segue into the land itself. It's transporting you into Super Nintendo World. And it even says, if you look at the blocks on the right, it even has one that says start or A on it. It's like you're starting the land or the world. How cool is that? So I have a feeling this actually is going to be one of the entrances into the land. We can see Peach's Castle right there in the distance. And in fact, if we go a little bit farther, check this out. Once Mario runs through the warp pipe here, it hops into the land, he hops in front of the castle, which of course isn't how it'll work in real life, as cool as that would be. However, once we go back to the zoomed out shot, and I'll speed it up here, look at this. If you see down there to the bottom left, we can see a warp pipe sticking out of a wall. That might be the exact same entrance that Mario just used, especially because the castle does appear to be in a similar perspective or similar place as it was in the opening shot, which we'll go back to right here. If I can back it up. There we go. So yeah, I have a feeling that might be one of the entrances. There might be multiple entrances, I would not be surprised. So yeah, let's go and continue onward. Into the land, there's Peach's Castle. Confirmation that Peach's Castle does face inward into the land as we expected before. We'll have more on that in a second. We can see there is a mushroom emblem on the ground right in front of the castle, and we can see the castle is going to offer a pretty great view of this entire land. You get the mountain just ahead, you get Bowser's Castle to the left, and we get a whole bunch of block stuff to the left of that. We get some nice lanterns there, we can see a prom plant hanging out. It's all looking pretty good. We can also see they superimpose some humans here, which actually kind of ties into New Donk City, right? Nintendo has a thing for real humans recently. In this case, it makes sense. I'm still not too sure about New Donk City. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to the next scene where we can see a close-up of Bowser's Castle. Again, this one is most evocative, I would say, of... I mean, Bowser's Castle in general, of course, but the one specifically in Mario Kart where you have his head forming the entrance, although we have seen things like that in the mainline games as well at times. In this case, we can see a couple smaller turrets right out in front as well, and we can see some prom plants guarding it. In addition, I don't know if they'll be there. If they are in real life, I suspect they won't be nearly as animated as they seem to be here. That is a pretty impressive level of animation. If they pull it off, that'd be amazing, but we'll have more on that in a second. So yeah, Bowser's Castle, as we mentioned earlier, could be the entrance into a ride or something. Possibly the Mario Kart ride. It would make sense with it being based, with the castle itself being based on Mario Kart, seemingly. Now the castle also butts up against a mountain there, as you can see on the right, and we get a better view of that, of course, in the next scene with Mario climbing up the mountain, grabbing coins, and then continuing upward. Now the interesting thing here is, check this out. As he's climbing up the mountain, he grabs the coin. The coin actually, I take that back, he didn't grab it at all. The coin actually receded into the ground and then bounced back up, which is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I think they might have done that because they wanted to show these are permanent fixtures. Those coins are going to be there, and I have a feeling they're going to be moving like they are here. In fact, there's a lot of movement going on this mountain. We can see the mountain platform, or the cloud platforms also move back and forth there. So this is an animated mountain. This is basically a giant prop, which is really cool. Like, if you look at this, it seems like there's going to be a lot of kinetic energy to this land, which is really cool because one of my favorite things about, well, not one of my favorite things, but one of the things that's often underrated in theme parks is having a kinetic energy, and that's something Disney has often excelled at, especially in their castle parks, like Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom. You have the Mark Twain riverboat going by, for instance. You have all kinds of things going on around you. Like, it adds an energy to the land, which is something Universal hasn't always been that great at. A lot of their rides are just built in warehouses. Mario Super Nintendo World is going for something different here. We can see there is going to be a lot of kinetic energy, seemingly, with the platforms, the coins moving, enemies around, perhaps, like the prawn plants. Even if we look down there, we can see a Goomba on a red block right in front of the castle. Yeah, so I have a feeling this land is going to be based on a lot of movement, a lot of kinetic stuff, which is just really interesting. And also ties into, like, you know, how energetic Mario is and Nintendo is in general. Now, another thing is, I can't help but wonder, with the fact that the coin bounces back up, could these elements be interactive? You know, obviously, I don't think we'll see Mario bouncing up the mountain here. Maybe we will. You never know. That would be pretty tricky to pull off, though. But we may see things of that nature, you know. Maybe the enemies can interact with things, for instance, as they're going around. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some kind of interactive elements. Even the question blocks, for instance. You probably won't be able to reach the one here, but I could imagine there being question blocks elsewhere in the land that you can hit. And maybe they'll have some kind of effect. So just a small little thing I wanted to point out that I thought might tie into something bigger coming down the line. Alright, now let's talk a little bit more about this view here, which again offers a perspective almost exactly opposite of the original concept art, which is awesome. But it gives us this great, beautiful view of this land, and there is a lot going on. So of course we have Peach's Castle to the left, Bowser's Castle on the right, and the Warp Pipe we point out down below to the bottom left. So I think, you know, actually the more I think about this now, that might be the only main entrance into this land. In which case, Peach's Castle and Bowser's Castle represent kind of the edges of this land, or more accurately, the facades into what are probably rides. And the mountain may be that as well. So those are hiding the infrastructure. The Warp Pipe, based on the fact that we think it's possibly the main entrance now, shows that that area down there is ground level, with everything else being built above. So this land is also built on verticality, which again it ties perfectly into Mario, a game based on jumping and moving vertically quite often. So this is going to be a pretty impressive sight. Nintendo, Disney just opened Avatar Land, which also is kind of built on verticality in the sense that you have these islands floating above you. This is kind of like a more grounded version of that. There's a lot of stuff going on around you, a lot of things towering above and over you. That really is going to make this a pretty impressive sight, I think. Next up, so let's take a look at the castle again. Again, we can see that it's facing inward toward the park, toward this land. It seems like there's nothing behind it, so again, or in this case, it shows it's not really an entrance. Down below, though, we can see there appears to be, first off, there's a staircase, of course, leading up to the castle, which we knew before, but we can also see you might be able to walk underneath the staircase, and I wonder if that's like also an entrance into something. So again, there seems to be at least two floors to this land, the ground floor and then the one, you know, the one with the castles on it. So there may be stuff in between there. The castle itself could be the entrance into the ride, while the area below could be like a store or something, or maybe the entrance and the castle's the exit. Who knows? There's any number of ways it could work with this stuff. To the left of the castle, we can see a little gazebo here. A little Princess Peach gazebo. That's kind of cute. Maybe that will be used for photo ops or something, you know, with the characters, a meet and greet, for instance. We can see, again, the prawn plant pointed out earlier, right to the right of the castle. Down below, we have a little garden in the front, which has the, in front of the castle, which has the the Goomba on top of the prawn plant as well. And let's go back to Bowser's Castle here on the right, because we can see now in a little bit more detail what's going on over here, because the concept art was a little bit vague to the left of the castle, but we can now see that it's actually like an ice land over there, like an ice world, which, you know, makes sense, it's Mario, but it's nice to see we're getting some variety there. And if the Bowser's Castle is in fact a Mario Kart ride, or really any kind of attraction, which it probably is, but we don't know for sure, I wonder if that ice world being nearby might tie into the theme or the idea of what's going on this ride. Maybe you start Bowser's Castle and you wind up in an ice world, for instance. Maybe the ice world plays some kind of role in that ride. Although it is interesting, the ice world is right next to Bowser's Castle, which is typically built with lava, right? Down below, we of course have the mountain, which may be hiding another attraction. There's any number of ways we could divide this. The rumors are that this land will have at least 2 or 3 attractions, so all 3 might be hiding their own rides. The mountain itself does look like a pretty impressive structure. And we can see, if we look down here, we can see some people hanging around between the mountain and Bowser's Castle. So I wonder if there's something else going on down there, because it doesn't look like there's too much else interesting going on. But it may offer some views of behind the mountain, because we can see the flagpole here doesn't represent the back of the mountain. Like in the concept art, it looked like it may have. Here, we can see there's still stuff going on behind it, so we just don't know what. But it does add a little bit more depth here, in that the mountain isn't pushed up against a wall, or the back wall of the park of this world, per se, but there is stuff going on behind it. Yeah, not too much else to say that we didn't point out before. Again, we have full analysis on this. We can see there's an entrance here to the right of Peach's Castle, which looks like, I don't know what those things are above it. It looks like it has like some fruit above the doorway or something. Those might be bathrooms, for instance. The ice world over here also has an entrance. Again, that could be an exit from the Bowser ride, if that is in fact a ride. Yeah, got some nice colorful trees here. We can see a bunch of Mario World style mountains in the background, which again suggests that, the edges of the park where the castles are in fact the edges of this land. There's nothing beyond them. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let me go through my notes here real quick. Yeah, I think we covered it. So it really just gives us a better look at the land overall. Like, nothing really shocking here, but it kind of just cements that this is probably what they're aiming for with the final product. And it's looking pretty cool. I'm actually kind of digging this. The concept art was a little bit weird, but looking at this view, this looks pretty magnificent, seeing it come to life. Now, I do have a few concerns I'll throw out there. One, Bowser's Castle, I think, should be more isolated. Right now, it kind of feels like it's shoved into a corner, whereas I think it doesn't seem like much of a landmark right now. Like, it'll be noticeable, but it doesn't stand out like any of the castle, like the castle at Magic Kingdom or even Hogwarts at Universal Studios, for instance. Instead, it just kind of feels like it's pushed off into the side. Another point to bring up real quick is now that we can see this, what appears to be fully realized, we have a better idea of the limits and the edges and boundaries of this land, it seems like it may just be Mario, at least in Japan. At least for Phase 1 or whatever they're calling this. Because we can see that there's nothing else here but Mario, and that warp pipe down there is in fact the entrance. Well, there's not much room for anything else to go here. So, this could just be, the start of Super Nintendo World before they expanded with other properties. And again, this may just be in Japan, they may do something else, they may add more properties for the other ones. Who knows here, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. Regardless, I love what I'm seeing here so far for the most part. I am really excited. This looks great. This looks way better than the concept art even. Seeing it fully realized, in CG, it's just making me so excited for this. Like, this is what I wanted since I was a kid. And knowing that's finally happening now is still kind of mind-blowing to me. And I cannot wait for this to open so I can go see it for myself, which unfortunately sounds like it won't be until 2020, based on previous comments from Universal Studios. But what do you guys think? Let us know by posting in the comments below. Are you excited for this, or do you wish they had done something else? And with that, we're out of here. So thanks for watching, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Super Nintendo World and everything else Nintendo as well. Catch you later. Bye.